And then, so we are, today is Monday, the 10th. We are doing a mock interview with Lulani Arquette, who is in Vancouver, Washington. We have Jarena Pakaro Kulahale, and we have Marianne Mele Kana in Hanamaui. And I am Michael Crabb. I'm up in Beaverton, Oregon. And this is our mock presentation to Hawaii Community Foundation for the Change Grant funding, foundation funding, which be awarded in July. So this is our oral presentation, and we will begin. And let's see, what's our time right now? It's 1:05. So now we got only 20 minutes for our presentation. So our Lulani can critique us. And with that, we will start.
Ano ay Kavilino Okia, aloha, aloha, Lulani. Nice to meet you. I'm Jarena. I'm coming in from Kaneohe, Oahu. Before I begin, I was just wondering, I just want to check with everybody if they can see the screen that I'm sharing. It should be, it says that I'm sharing it right now. I'm not the host, though. I'm going to stop you.
So let's try this technically.
I'm going to press the stop share on my side and try.
You want me to do the share on my side? Oh, there it is. It's good. We're good.
There it is.
There it is.
Hello, Kako. I'm here with my friends from Kali'ula Foundation. I have Michael Crabb here and Mele Ana, my hula sister from Kali'ula. And we are here to talk a little bit about our ideas, our creative ideas that we have for the Change Grant. Now, what I understand from what Change is for the Hawaii Community Foundation, it's about how do we change the communities? How do we empower the communities? And for us, we're actually doing it through the arts and culture portion of the grant. Oh, kalamai. Here we go. So arts and culture and change. Why is it so important when everybody's in the need for food, housing, and education? Well, arts has always been at the forefront of making changes and expression for people in history. If we look at the Mona Lisa or the David, even our own Hawaii arts of lei making, hula, and lauhala, we know that through these arts, this is how our people express themselves emotionally and sometimes can get them out of whatever situation they're at. We've been in a year and a half maybe of COVID right now, COVID changes in our lives. And so we want to bring power, empowerment, and we want to bring healing to our communities, not just in Hawaii, but throughout the world. One recent art piece in Hawaii was done by these 6 fantastic artists, well-known artists and globally known artists, all of Hawaiian ancestry. And they worked on a mural called the Aina Aloha mural. And before they could actually work on the mural, they had to do the underpiece of the entire 25-foot mural. And this is what came out. And what they found was that it brought out emotions of anger, of hurt and trauma that they have received. And so when they actually finished the final piece here, this Aina Aloha mural, they were able to express those things, get it out, heal from it, and then create this beautiful mural. And so that's kind of like what we're thinking. By allowing ourselves to express ourselves through our arts and culture, we can bring healing to the community and to the world. Kali'ula Foundation is our foundation and the group that actually brings us together. And it's actually was established in 1985. Our vision and our mission has always been about global community and future generations around Hawaiian culture, values, practices, and beliefs. Our mission is a healthy community through these arts and culture. These are some of our strategic goals. We recently have a group within our foundation called Hemakananona Mamo. The mamo is the prized feather on the mamo bird, and it is often used to create ahu'ula, as we portrayed in the very first screen, and in this lei hulumomo. Um, each piece, each feather represents each person that has been touched by the Kali'ula Foundation. But it also has another metaphor for each piece of arts that we practice as Hawaiian as kanaka, hula, lei making, mele, olelo Hawaii, farming as mahi'ai, and so on. Our history in Kali'ula Foundation is perpetuating hula legacy passed down from Daryl Lupenui to our kumu, Chinky Mahoy, and 30 years the Merry Monarch, an award-winning hula halau in the Merry Monarch Festival. We've touched over 100 participants at international workshops. And now that we have a second generation of kumu, we have touched over 1,000 through hula, mele, and other culture and arts of Hawaii. The story that I why am I a part of Kali'ula Foundation? Well, when I started in Kawaii'ula in the early 1980s, it was I wasn't new to hula, but I was new to hula as performing on a broader stage like Merry Monarch. I not only learned hula, but I learned a lot of things like leadership skills. I made lifelong friends like Meleana here. And we've found this new identity as being a Hawaiian, really bringing up that piece of us that was kind of dormant inside of us. Yeah, we could hula and we could do all those outside things, but there was something about that identity and that sense of belonging and that total well-being that happens when you become a part of, when you actually practice things Hawaii. I'm gonna let Mike talk a little bit more about who we are and how we perpetuate things.
Let's try this. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Aloha, aloha. First of all, it's our privilege to be here with all of you, Lulani and the Hawaii Community Foundation. We thank you for this opportunity to explain our story, to let you know a little bit about this. Jarena really set the foundation for the creation of this foundation and going forward into the future by laying out really our history and the lives and that we have touched and people that we have worked with throughout the last 30 years. Excuse me, I myself have been involved with the halau since the inception with Kumuhula Chinky Mahoy. And while I live here on the mainland, on the West Coast, I've been actively involved with them. I was one of his key organizers in the early days and went to many of the Kikihula competitions and Merry Monarch competitions, as well as assisting in organizing many of the events, the pivotal events that help us get through all of those years. You know, moving forward, as Jarena had highlighted, I would say this is that we took a very unique approach. And the word, I guess, that comes to my mind is reimagineering, right? So the reason why that this pivotal is because of the world events that affected every one of us in social ways, in technology ways, in community ways, and relationships, right? No longer were we able to be hands-on, live touch with people, which is very important to our arts and culture. So with all that in mind, after this COVID situation and pandemic, we really have to think about our future. Why is that important? Because hula is a connection. You have to have that connection. And what is important as well is the ability to reach out. And with this last year and a half right now, and it's still continuing, Hemakana no Namamo, as a group, had to think outside of the box. We have ambitious goals. Jarena highlighted some of them. I'd like to just give you a snapshot of where we're going in the future and what I would say is the future of hula. So the the concept right now is, and the big issue in the hula world is how to stimulate interest and pride in Hawaiian culture, in olelo, in music, and even crafts. And we brainstormed many ideas. We sat down with our kumu, and in addition, we just to take it a step further, we have 9 halau or hula schools, right? And we have to imagine ourselves, how would we take what we have right now and take it to the world? But let's bring it down to the local, to the very narrow level right now, and just let's say if we did our piece in the community and just took our schools and all of our students. We have the ability right now, as we had brainstormed uh, uh, recently, as a matter of fact, and laid out a strategic plan envisioning the future of hula. And that is really exciting. And of course, a lot of this is predicated on what seems to open up as we move forward. But to give you an example, as a strategic plan in terms of collaborating, connecting, and bringing all of our intellectual and knowledge base of hula in the arts and culture. For example, at the end of this year in November, we're planning and strategic planning to have a symposium, and we have a collection of terrific speakers, kumuhula, people in the business community, and also the hula community as well. And we're planning on having a guest speaker to have this symposium to really open up the world, the ideas of all of these collective knowledge-based resources. That is one of our pivotal strengths as an organization, is the network that we have in place right now. So that symposium will incorporate all of our members, will incorporate people in the community, in the business world, and we will have that, from that collection of ideas will also assist us as we move forward into 2022. And of course, that event is COVID related. If we can do that, we will. If not, we have a plan B, which would be having an online workshop that we can do, that would launch workshops, hula workshops, other forums and symposiums that we would organize. But that is the plan right now, to do that. Just to give you an idea of some of the people that we're looking at bringing online, we have such knowledge people as Manu Boyd, Robert Casimiro, Debbie Nakanelua from Hawaiian Airlines, Auntie Huakale Kamau, who is a master hula teacher, Johnny Lamho, and many others. The key speaker that we're probably going to target for that would be our Kumuhula Chinki Mahoi, who in the hula world is one of the most innovative, creative kumuhula of his time. And so I think that will stimulate many ideas. So we have, without putting all of the numbers on the board here, if we were to enable our HCF to fund us and all of our strategic plans going forward, we have a pretty kind of like a third, and a third in terms of what we're planning to allocate funds to. Obviously, with going online requires a lot of technology, a lot of software and hardware as well. And one thing I'd like to throw out there as well is, I understand that HCF also has the ability and other resources as well. And I would ask you, as when we're done with our presentation, if you would enable us or have the ability to let us know what some of them are, to perhaps maybe offset some of the funding that we have already allocated. So that's just one side note. The other piece going forward would be what do you call, the hardware, software, just to operate. And then the other events would be strategically for November. And then the last piece would be going into 2022, which would be two major events, but yet would tie in all of the community resources and collaborators of uh, scholars, hula knowledge, and in the business world. Part of it is to really establish long-term relationships as we go forward, because we also understand that perhaps some of this funding may dry up over time. So we're also looking ahead to determine long-term strategies to sustain our organization and some of the plans going forward. So I hope I've just given you kind of a very brief idea of what our strategic plan is in relation to what Jarena set forward with us. But just as I turn this over, I also want to let you know that we have a collection of business people in our organization, people in the education field, people in the community field, and the nonprofit field. And with that, I'd like to turn it over briefly to Mele Kahana, who is in Hana Maui, to just kind of give you an idea of what her experience in the number of nonprofit organizations that she's worked with as well. So Mele?
Aloha kako, mahalo for this opportunity for sharing, coming in from Hana Maui. I'd like to share just a few of my nonprofit background. I currently belong to Keauhali'i, and what it means is a blanket of clouds. And what we stress in the name of our nonprofit is the clouds would actually hide Hana, so that no one would come in and purchase us out. Hana has been more and more diverse. Unfortunately, it used to be predominantly Native Hawaiians that used to live out here. My lineage comes from specifically Hana Hamoa. My papa is from this side of the islands. Our experience as far as funding with Keauhali'i, as far as conserving Aina, we've received just recently in the past 2 years has been like up to 7 million from the county to the state to Hawaii Island Land Trust. So our mission for that nonprofit is strictly conserving our lands so developers wouldn't come to Hana and overdevelop our Aina. The other nonprofit that I belong to is also WAQ. CDC is a community development center. And what that nonprofit entails is to bring Hana descendants who's from Hana, because a lot of Native Hawaiians from Hana actually moved to Oahu for jobs, for opportunity, for education. So our mission with WAQ CDC is to try and bring back our Hana descendants to where they originally are from, like deeply rooted. And another nonprofit that I work for is a health clinic. And what we do with this health clinic is we try to provide what we call it, for the Hawaiians out here to try and stick with their cultural foods, whether if it's kalo, fish. We hope that our Hawaiians out here, try and stick with their culture eating and try to encourage exercise. I also belong to Hana Community Association. We're very watchful, and we try to stay vigilant with having outsiders to come here and try and develop and try to make more and more changes. Now, what led me to start up with Kali'ula Foundation, I've known Jarena for many years. She's the one who actually started me out with dancing with Chinky Mahoy back in the 80s. I've known Mike for many years. He used to critique us. He's actually ahead of us in hula. So I've been very grateful for my hula sister and my hula brother and my upbringing with Kawai Li'ula. And now as I mentioned, with the lands we're trying to conserve, our health of Native Hawaiian people, and the more and more diverse Hawaii becomes, I find that our culture, our Native Hawaiian culture, whether if it's our religion, Olelo Hawaii, the more and more diverse Hawaii becomes, the less and less our culture would remain or would sustain. So I think if Native Hawaiians don't open their eyes and try and get more and more engaged in their culture, in their homeland, it's going to be lost. So I think I'm very pleased that today now there's Hawaiian studies in University of Hawaii. I'm very happy about that. I see a lot of students now, they're trying to get into, whether if it's fishing, lei making, feather making, very happy to see that. I also, hearing them speaking the language these days. So I'm very happy about that. And then now, I'm into this nonprofit to try and, sustain hula and try to continue the workload of Chinky Mahoy, who has done a lifetime of actually dedicating his entire life to hula. I don't think that should be lost. And so I wanted to mahalo for this opportunity and allowing us to share our mission. We hope to work with you together to attain our objectives, our goals, and our mission. Mahalo.
Thank you. And just to wrap that up, I would like to add one other thing is, as Mele alluded to, the key for Hawaii Community Foundation is moving the needle. Their concern right now is how do we move the needle to the Native Hawaiians and the non-Native Hawaiians. In our written presentation, if you can recall, when we first started this back 30 years ago, it was like a 20% to 80% ratio, Native Hawaiians to non-Native Hawaiians. And over the years, the challenge has been, how do we attract more people? How do we stimulate the interest? And because of all the halaus that have proliferated since then, and I was part of that Renaissance period in the mid-70s, it's just erupted. But it's kind of gone flat over the years. And so now the question is, with all of these halau in Hawaii and around the world, where, I think if I were in HCF's position here, is like, where is hula going? How do we attract people? What's a strategic plan or things that we can do? So our goal, fortunately, I can address is we're in a good position because we have halal currently right now in the educational system of Hawaii, right? One in Waianae, one of our halal in Waianae in the educational system there. And just recently I discovered one right in Honolulu at St. Andrew's Priory. So we're in the educational system, which gives us an easy foothold into now expanding that, because for that one halal, for example, in Honolulu, she has access to the entire school of students from Keiki all the way to the adults. And to me, that just excited me so much. I thought I would just mention that to each of you to give you an idea of the breadth of our reach, not just in the community, but also in the educational system as well. So with that, we want to say thank you to all of you. We look forward to your questions right now, and we would be happy to answer any of them.
Great. My kai, you guys, really, really good. Really, really great. And I just want to preface my comments with saying that, you already have it in you, within each one of you, what you're going to say, and the compelling passion and emotion you have about this that's coming through really wonderfully with your presentation today. And so it's already there inside you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the comments that I'm going to make are going to that I would like to share with you, if you allow me to do that, are how I observe some certain aspects of it, and maybe a few things that
Sure.
could even make it better than it already is, or even up the ante a little bit more. That's
Yes,
all.
we're looking forward to all of it. Lulani, hit us.
Okay. Okay, good. So the first things I wanted to make sure that that it sounds like you, and when I hear grant proposal, I probably, just as a background, we've probably reviewed over thousands of grants in our organization. I sit on a lot of the grant review panels. And so, and there's really different ways that I hear how people present and what they do. Overall, though, most of the time, and I know HCF is similar to this, I know most of the people over there really well. They're going to be, what do you hope to accomplish with this grant? So through your comments, did you answer that? How will you measure success? I didn't hear, I'd like to hear a little bit more on how you would measure success, because they would like to hear that. We always, because remember, it's very competitive out there. It's just the world we live in with philanthropy and grant making now. And then you emphasize the positive aspects. They want to know what positive aspects are you emphasizing. I thought you did that really well, all three of you. And I'll give you exact examples in a minute, what I thought was just spot on. And then the other thing people are thinking, when you talk about what the work or the project you're doing, what needs changing or improvement, I think you talked about that really well also. So what needs changing and the positive aspects, I think you hit on really beautifully. The two things I'd like to see you work on a little bit more, it's how will you measure success, and who it benefits. Who does this benefit directly now? And then you can talk about indirectly. So who does it benefit directly? That's what they're going to want to know, right? I mean, they may not say that, but if you can answer these questions, you're going to be one step above some other ones that probably aren't going to think this way. So those are off the top of my head. And I think you also, what do you hope to accomplish with the grant? You answered that well. So what I understand this grant, HCF, they're advancing equity in Hawaii. They want you to address disparities in Hawaii. You should have that in the materials that you sent me, Michael.
Yeah.
Collaboration and partnerships are really important. I think you kind of touched on that sort of. And then your real mission is how to attract it with this, how to really spread our culture and our knowledge and our values as Native Hawaiians. And then through our culture, language, music, and dance, and how you're going to attract new students to that, right? That's your big thing. So when you, let's see, I think it was Jarena. Yeah, was it who presented first? Was it
Jarena?
I thought your comment and your visuals on recognizing that healing is an ongoing process, and that when you talked about the artist that did the mural, I pretty much know all those artists real well, and I thought that was a really good touch and very strong. And because you're tying in visual arts are really important too, the visual arts aspect of who we are as Native peoples, and which include our traditional customary practices and also include more contemporary art. And so I'd really like that you, and I know HCF's gonna like this too, that you added that image in that talked about those visual artists, and to make your point about as Kanaka, we're healing. This has been an ongoing process for centuries about the trauma and healing that needs to take place, and the ongoing, colonization efforts that have happened to indigenous peoples in Hawaii and elsewhere for centuries. So you had a very nice way of talking about that, Jarena, and making the point, but not going too overboard, but just really, really nice. So I wanted to mention that. I love the idea of the mamole. The mamole was beautiful with it was a really good example, and talking to what that means, particularly about its significance and for this project, and who you're, what you're trying to do, the impact you're trying to have with this project. So did you, let's see, where, oh, okay, then I'm trying to think about my notes here. Found no identity as being Hawaiian. Was that you, Jarena? Yeah. total well-being and practice things that are all Hawaiian. Oh yeah, so this idea that that's another really positive thing I thought that was strong. When we can, we can talk about being Kanaka, we can, so verbalize it, and we can study it in college, we can learn it in our families, but it's really doing the work and practicing that you emphasize and that you guys are talking about that is so critical, I think. So I would just, that was really good. And you all did that to a certain extent. So those are my kai for that. That's what that's really important. But that's what makes you Hawaiian. That's what makes you a Kanaka. You're practicing, you're living the culture, right? How you believe and define that culture and its significance important to us. That's really good. So Michael, then when we went into you, suggestion, but I don't know how you feel about this. Everything was really great. I thought I loved the term of reimagineering. Beautiful term, great term to use. Reimagineering, what this possibility is that you're talking about. Of thinking about the use of technology, the use of having to do things virtually to reach broader audiences, both in Hawaii and nationally and internationally, even outside the COVID era, because more people can participate then, right? So that's really important. You mentioned the 9 hula schools.
Right.
And I thought that was really good. One of the things that could be helpful is on your, let's see, when you spoke about the symposium and having the guest speakers to open the world to this knowledge. And then you mentioned, we have a huge network in place. So who are that? What are the numbers of that network? And grant makers like to hear numbers, and not a lot, don't overdo it, but at least maybe one number. What is it? 5,000 people, 1,300 halau, 9 hulas, kind of some key numbers that help amp up your cause.
Would you like me to hone in on the hula world or the collective resource network?
I'd like you to do both. And it doesn't have to be exact. I mean,
I know. No, I get it.
Yeah. Just both.
I mean, I could even, because I had it on my list, but I was trying to suss everything out. So this is the question. This is good because OHA, CNHA, Alulike, Lulani Foundation. I mean, I had all of that. I have a long list of them, but so you want me to kind of summarize it?
Yes, summarize it and work with the numbers, at least one number of your. I think the numbers might be important for your hula network from. That you folks are talking about that keep, like you got 2 people here on this call that are part of that, and then what are we talking about as far as, because that's what they're going to be thinking,
right?
Because there's a lot of competition in hula, and not only there's tons of hula halau up here, and a lot are doing similar things, wanting to go virtualize and really bring the culture to people through, through virtual webinars and symposiums, as well as in person and in place through language. So you're talking about really opening this, so you can bring this to greater, this knowledge that, in particular, Chinky Mohoe had in his halau, and all that learning that you went through, and then how that's kind of expanded now, and you want to expand it even more, right? To bring the knowledge that you've learned through all those many, many years at different places, each of you and others have intersected with his, it's him that you're pointing to, his halau, right? So I think that would be important to know sort of what is it, and it doesn't have to be a big number. It's just important that we have really, whatever that number is of knowledgeable people that have been committed and have these kinds to this, this mission and this vision, and whatever that is.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Would it help if I had a statement from one of those organizations who said something, let's say it's OHA, like, Keone Souza, who is a board of trustees of OHA, has expressed interest in what we're doing or something like that, just to add some sense of credibility, or not?
Yeah, and you just need to be able to, they may ask you that anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure if they will, but because usually I think you guys know this because you know, I've been away for 11 years now, but if usually in Hawaii, when I was writing grants, like when I was with Alulike or the different organizations I was with at that time, including Hawaii Community Foundation, OHA, any of them, they would ask, if it was the Hawaii State Foundation on Cultural Arts or a kind of a non-native organization,
Mhm.
they would ask, well, what does OHA think of this? What does Kamehameha Schools, do they believe in this? What about Lili'uokalani Trust? You know, I mean, just the kind of the Native Hawaiian trusts and organizations that we all know about, they may ask, and it's okay if you're not working with them or anything, but I just want you to be prepared for that if they
Mhm.
do happen to, and it is probably good if you have a relationship with any one of those, like if it's OHA, you know, or whichever, and that they support this effort that you're talking about, that you do mention it.
Right.
But I wouldn't mention it if you haven't talked to them about it yet. If you don't have.
Oh no, that's what I mean. It's like, because we've already, that's kind of was in my mind, and I've actually spoken to our board here and also Kumu as well, because we have Lili'u, we have people in place already in those organizations.
Okay.
So they're like, I would say something, he go, oh, Keone, oh, Moon at Lili'u,
Yeah.
you know, Kuhio Lewis at CNHA. I mean, we have people in the decision makers are there in our network right now. So if I had to just mention it, we could, but I'm asking you if they had solicited, had offered a statement in support of what we're doing, would that be a help or not, or wait till HCF?
It would be a great help.
Huh?
It would be a great help if you could get it.
Oh,
but
perfect.
yeah. And if you can't get it, then just to mention something about it, you know, and there's kind of that fine line,
Right.
between name dropping,
Yes.
of name dropping other, you know, names that will sometimes a grant maker will kind of their hair will stand up a little bit because they're thinking, oh, did they really have these relationships? Or are they just name dropping? That's why it's better if you have it in a letter, or if you have a
okay, a letter.
That's what I'm saying. If you had it, now it's kind of too late to get a letter. All I'm saying is if you have those and relationships, you can back them up.
Gotcha.
If you don't have the letter, you can back them up. Go ahead and mention it.
And I think in the context of mentioning, if I were able to do that, I'm just asking if you think that's a good idea. Number one is I would do that if we were doing a partnership or in conjunction with one of their programs that relates to what we're doing.
Right.
So if it's almost a continuous strategy that, oh, we just happen to be a part of that, they've maybe reached out to us and said, hey, can you do this piece for us? Or can you guys organize that symposium? Oh my God, we had the same idea, but you guys are going to organize it? We're going to help support you folks.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah. So I think I'd balance it out, you know, kind of balance it out to not overdo it.
Yes.
That's what I would say. Does that make sense?
It does. It's like just give them enough, and then that's why we've left actually perfect timing. I when I talked to Mele and Jarena, I said, you know, it's like you don't want to give them the whole dessert. You want to give them, you know, don't give them the ice cream, just give them the cake, and then let them. Some people may like ice cream, some people may not. So I think the rest of the time that we have, and we only have 45 minutes, and we're just about that. We have about 5 minutes left. In technically, I wanted to leave enough time for them to ask us questions.
Yeah, they did. And so I think, okay, so the only other thing I want to get to Mele on yours, Michael, is I love the names that you drop some of the names you did drop with Mono Boy, and, you know, sort of
Sure.
That's great. When you talked about 1/3 technology, technology and software, and then the question very good. Question to HCF, very good, because
Yes.
it's kind of about, do you have something that you, grant maker, that maybe help with other than just providing the resource of a check or money that then can offset what we're doing in our grant, what we've asked for funding for.
And that came because of Jarena and I were on that call.
Yeah.
And HCF said that. They said, oh, don't worry about this piece because we have other resources over there. So I'm thinking in my head, oh, if we don't have to pay for it and they already have it, that's why I threw that out there. Like, can you guys tell us what those resources are?
Yeah.
So we can X out that item from our expense list, and they already have it, because I know they're going to ask me that question.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really good.
Yeah.
And, the last thing I wanted to talk about was from Mele, Marianne. I think I love the fact that that you talk so passionately about the nonprofits that you're involved in HANA. And I think that's really important. And you mentioned, I think, 3 of them, Q and can't remember the other one, but the one that's conserving land, and then the amount of resources that have gone into that nonprofit. I think that's really good because it helps kind of establish trust and credibility in your team, you guys, your team, of the work that this project that you're proposing and the funds that you'll be managing and your nonprofit experience. You know, all of that is really important, and it helps add that extra element, and especially with you know, and also that cultural knowledge and that you all have. And in particular, Mele, was really the community experience of sort of really being rooted in that community is so important, I think. And when I was at Alalika, we did a lot of work with Hanam. I was trying to remember we had a Kupuna Wisdom Council, sort of. I was trying, it's been too long, I'm getting old, I forget, I can't, it wasn't Anita Arce, I think she was Molokai. I think Anita Arce might have been Molokai. But we had a Kupuna over there who was set on our Kupuna Council, and also worked in our program in Hana Maui. It was a while back, about 15, 20 years ago. But anyway, so I think Hana's I think what you shared was really, really, really super. And then Michael, when you ended with that halau, halau and the education system, very good. So I think you guys, you got this. I think just, you know, like I mentioned in the beginning, if you just kind of think a little bit more about that, answering one or all of you, but how you're going to measure that success.
Yes.
What is the measure of, that's always a hard one for Native people. And, you know, for all of us, it's this idea between, so qualitative measures or quantitative. Grant makers want to see, they're much more flexible now. So the quantitative is, you know, like the numbers. Well, this many people will benefit from this, or this many community members, you know, that was sort of the standard way you measured things. And now philanthropy and grant makers really want to see qualitative too. How are you thinking about this from a really positive strengths, which you guys talked about? But still important to do kind of the hard measures of how you're going to think through this. So for example, when you talked about the symposiums. Yeah.
So
Jarena.
Lulani, do you think the grant writers want to know the specifics of our data collection? So like you mentioned, qualitative or quantitative. And so, you know, like I was thinking we could talk about this whole, I talked a little bit about it in my section, but I didn't call it out. But there is a framework called HA, based on the word, the acronym of the word breath. And so if you think that would help, like B meaning measuring, belonging, R responsibility, E excellence,
Yes.
A aloha, T total well-being, H you know, Hawaii, Ike Hawaii.
Yes, absolutely. If you can fit it in.
Okay.
And, you know, just fit it in somehow. I do. I think that's really important, because it's something that everybody's grappling with now. You know, we're grappling with this thing of, you know, both grant people that are applying for grants, and then the grant people that are granting the grants, of how we think of, from a Native perspective, how we think of this idea of measuring success, and how the other thing is really important for you to talk about, this is more the cutting edge, I mean, sort of the philanthropy is getting there, is the idea that the community defines the success. The community is the one that defines the success. Their voice has something to do with the success. So if the community you're working in is a community of people that are interested in hula language, music, you know, the people that be listening in these symposiums and learning what you're sharing, that's part of the community. So what is success to them? That's their part of the, and then of course, what is success to those of you that are teaching, the kumu that are teaching, you know, the others that are benefiting on both sides of this. Before it was kind of always a top-down approach, you know, the organization, the heads of the organization and the program people tell you what is successful.
Right.
You need to be proactive in sharing what's successful. So that ha that you talk about, perfect. Yeah.
And to follow with what Jarena said, this is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, is that when I had a conversation this morning, and we know sort of what other people or groups and organizations are doing. Like you said, Lulani, others are doing sort of the same thing we're doing. We're taking it beyond that right now, because when I said, are we doing this for our group? And I asked the question to our kumu, he says, no, we're going to open it up to others. That is mind blowing, because in the hula community, that generally doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Because everything's really tight knit and buttoned down. We're not doing that. That was mega right there, because I'm like, wow, now we're really opening it up to everyone with open arms. So,
Right.
So that enables us to really move the needle tremendously in our organization. That's what I was trying to get at, was moving the needle.
Yeah.
So in our network, if it's just our group, yeah, we're going to have a couple of thousand. If we open up to everybody else, we're going to have tens of thousands of halal around the world, globally and in Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, that we're going to be reaching.
And think about what your niche is, kind of what is your, and that's a word I'm using, the NICG, you know, kind of what is your, that you're talking about, that you're right on the right track, Michael. I want you, all three of you to think about it even deeper and keep inserting that into a little bit more into the presentation before you present to HCF. Again, these are things that kind of are going to stand out. Because just as an example, do you know Kavika Alfish?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, he's all over the world doing this, okay, already, but he's doing this. Patrick McCool-Connie on a real contemporary side is what he's been doing in San Francisco.
My hula brother.
And your hula brother, right? And he's one of our fellows. I mean, so, you know, there's really great work being done. And so what is the you folks kind of special niche that is part of what everybody else is doing, but it kind of sets you apart because you focus in a particular way of how you, it may be because of your kumuhula and a certain way that he taught a certain style of dance and hula that he believed in, whatever, or it might be something to do with the music or the language or whatever you're going to, all the different things you're going to be teaching, but you have, that niche is going to be completely important. You know, like with Kaloku up here, Michael, still trying to close, they had to shut down their hula studio out here. And
I didn't know.
He just came home and he's back came back here home, and he's back in Hawaii now because he has his little boy and Ahapunana, you know, in language.
Right.
And he wants to finish him out, and then they're going to come back. But there's all these things, you know, we have to think about, I think, with our Hawaiian culture. But I can tell you folks this, you know, one thing I've really learned being up here, and that, you know, because I'm working beyond, in addition to Native Hawaiian community, that's Alaska Native, and, you know, all the Native American tribes across the continent. And one thing that, and I'm not saying this because I'm Kanaka and Native Hawaiian, I even if I wasn't, I would say this, we have something beyond special in Hawaii. It really is unique and different. That our culture, how we practice it, the values that we've learned from our kupuna, and how we all try to carry that on. And I think to me, we don't get enough visibility and recognition because we're these islands 2,500 miles out in the Pacific Ocean. And we try, like, to keep that alive. I do because of where I, because of my ancestry as much as possible. But when I see this, people love everything Hawaiian. They love our values, and we're different. Our values in some of the other native groups, even indigenous, there's a different way that we all kind of look at our behavior, the way we, that concept of aloha, which is so often commodified, commercialized, and trivialized, as we all know. That's the work I did when I first started the Hawaii Hospitality Association years ago. We were all, and with George Kanahele and all, that work is so critical, because that really is what it comes down to. Especially now up here, when I'm living up here, where it's so much division. And I know we have in Hawaii, there's some of that too, but there's extreme levels of division, as you know, Michael, up here on the continent, across in the struggles and the things that are happening with racism and the different things. It just is what it is, that we don't feel as deeply in Hawaii because of, I think it's because of where we're located. I think it's because of who the influence us as Kanaka in Hawaii for so long. I know some of that's, we got to work hard at that. But so what you're doing is really important, is all I'm saying. And so just elevate it to explain it to HCF in ways that that really show them, oh wow, this is their niche. This is what they're trying to do that's different than this, and this one out here. Or that they will collectively work on together, and they bring something, this is their special thing they're bringing to all of the hula halau and cultural world that we're trying to, can keep alive and share. So.
Can I, just to kind of wrap up here, let me ask you this. For my portion, I know I just try to hit the highlights, right? Would having a background notes like Jarena had prior to me help or not, so they can follow along? If I just get the high points inside there, or should I just do it orally? And the reason why I ask you that, because when you said to me, inject your personality, I wanted it to kind of feel me more than to watch a screen in the background. So what's your thought on that process, or on our presentation?
I think it's real. I like the way that Jarena started out with, is it Jarena or Jarena?
Jarena.
It's Jarena, okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was the D or the J. Okay. I like the way that Jarena started out with the PowerPoint.
Yes.
That's good. I don't think that you should do that. I think you should just be on screen, like you said.
Right.
And then Mele is fine also to be on screen. Okay. So it's always, again, that balance, that always, that's who we are as Hawaiians, balance between the dualities and these sort of that's always what it was about. And so keep the balance in the presentations, some on screen, some in person. Yeah. Yeah. Some of the strengths and assets that you're working towards through the project, and some of the things that Jarena mentioned about the traumas and the, because we don't want to sound naive. We get what's going on, about the challenges, that's the work I worked on in the sovereignty movement in Hawaii for so many years, way back. It's just, there's all these challenges that we're losing our land, and there's so much development, and it's continuing still 20 years later and 30 years, it's the same thing continuing.
Jarena?
We have to keep, and that's why each of you mention that in some way, but not to where it's extreme, because that's a different, you're talking, you base it in reality. This is what's happening, folks, and this is how we're addressing it.
I have an idea though, and I wanted to run it by you. Towards the end, maybe as a wrap up, maybe we could have just a closing screen there with a visual, just a visual, and we could talk off that visual. And the visual I was thinking of is actually a peva. I don't know if you know what a peva is. You probably do know what a peva is. I should say that. It's that little bow tie thing that people put in maybe their kapaku'iai or their
Yeah.
bowls. And that peva is really like a patch to help a crack in a bowl and an umeke. And then I was like gonna use that as a metaphor of maybe that's what we're hoping to do, is to be that peva in the world globally by using our ways of repairing and bringing healing.
Yeah, love it.
You know,
Yes, I love that idea. I think it's perfect to end with that.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you guys got this. I'm excited for you. I'm really excited for you.
Yeah.
I think you're going to do really well, and I think this proposal is very worthy. And is it for how long is this for? Is it a year, 2 years, or what? 1 year.
July to July,
Oh, wow, 1 year.
$50,000.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's like it's going to come fast and hard, and
Wow.
we're Chinky's getting ready for Mary Monarch. Rich is getting ready for Mary Monarch. We have 3 halau at Mary Monarch. The
Oh my
Kumu and 2 of his students in the same competition. Never been done before.
Wow.
Never.
Oh my
And
God.
that's how involved and we are. I mean, so we're doing it. So we're practicing it. We're doing it, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. That is that. I don't think that you're right. That's never been
It's
done.
a first. It's a first. Aloha Dillery never did it. Mapuana de Silva never did it. Not even Olana Ai. Or Mohala Ilima, I should say. Yes. It might have been the Kanaka Olis that would have had that opportunity, but they never, they're always judging. But this is a first time in Mary Monarch history. Yeah, and this is the story that's blown over that nobody's talking about right now. And if somebody did a story on that, that would be remarkable, like to highlight Mary Monarch. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Lulani, I can't thank you enough. This has been wonderful for all of us with Mele, and I'm sure Jarena, if they want to chime in. For me, it's been, your comments are like spot on. And then, when your eyes go like that, we're doing the same thing. It's like, I love it, and it's just exciting. Anything else want to share, Mele or Jarena?
Just so grateful. Thank you, Lulani, for sharing your experience and your ideas from the philanthropist side. So thank you very much. I did kind of resonate with
Hello,
you.
Lulani. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're all welcome for this. I'm happy to help. And my
Jarena,
brother
go ahead
here,
and finish off your thought, Jarena.
I was just going to say, when Lulani was talking about the Native Americans and the plights of the Native Americans and how we're different, and maybe it's because we are in this isolated in this safe space surrounded by salt water, but in my work with NIEA for about 10 years, I recognized the same thing. And they always wanted Native Hawaiians on their board because we seem to have had it together a lot more than the Native Americans, So, I mean, getting our language, as an official language of the state, and all those kinds of things, whereas they were still struggling at which language should we,
Yeah. Well, it's so true. I'll say one last thing before we leave. That brings up something to me. So we had this convening in DC. You know about this, Michael. This
Yes.
Last right before COVID hit over a year ago. It's the first ever of its kind that we did called Resilience, Reclamation, and Relevance, Native Arts and Cultures, and it was brought all the federal funding agencies together with Native American tribes and Alaska Native, Native Hawaiian. It was invitation only. We couldn't open it up. We're going to have another one and open it up to everybody in 2022. But it was a great thing because in that we had several panel people presenting, and one of the panels was on language and elders, and the panelists, 2 of the people on the panel, both that were talking about, these are elders now in their communities. Alaska Native Dolores Churchill, I don't know if any of you know her, and incredible Alaska Native weaver, and she's brought language to so many Alaska Native schools now. And And she credited Ahapunana Leo and Hawaii for that, and a visit she had out there when about, 30 years ago or something, 40 years ago maybe. And I mean, here we are in the middle of DC at this, she's from Alaska Native, and everybody hears that. And that was, and then it happened on another panel. I had Aaron Salah was there, and
Yes.
I had a few other Native Hawaiians there too, that presented. But it was just, you see this all the time. They hold us up in Hawaii as a role model example for how we've preserved our language. Now we may think in Hawaii, you may think, God, I wish we could, we're doing good, but we still want to do better. We want to have more native speaker, the whole thing. But some of them don't, they've lost the last native speaker in their tribe.
Oh boy.
So how are they going to recover their language? They have to go back in and do research and try to uncover their language. I mean, it's very sad. So you're right. It really is true. We are kind of models in many ways. And they have some things that we can learn from too. There's, they have some really interesting practices, even in the arts, arts and particularly in the kind of the writing field. They've had excelled in writing, many Native writers. I mean, Pulitzer Prize winners, it's kind of a Leslie Marmot Silk. There's many of them. We need to cultivate that a little bit more in Hawaii. I've talked to some of my poet friends over there, and Mahea, a very dear friend of mine, and many others about that, So there's things, we're all doing our best, but we are very unique and special. Everybody wants to come to Hawaii. Everybody they want to go to Hawaii.
All right, so my last lightning round question for you, Lulani, is this. If you had 3 to 6 words, key words, tag words or something like that related to our presentation that may not have been mentioned, what would those tag words be, keywords?
That may not have been mentioned. Well, I might get this wrong. You might have, let me think about it. That's a hard question. You'll have to take these with a grain of salt because you have to realize I'm up here. So it's in a broader Indigenous context and sort of, Native truth, reclaiming Native truth is really important. So that's a big movement that's happening up here with some research that was done and is resonating across the nation. Unfortunately, it didn't include Native Hawaiians because their funding only included American Indian and Alaska Native. And they know how I felt about that, but it was kind of after the fact. They couldn't, but I think it's really important, this idea of reclaiming Native truth, because reclaiming means we're not, it's there already. It's always been there. We're just reclaiming it, right? So that language, I know that HCF knows that language, some of those.
Exactly, that's why I'm asking you that question.
Michelle knows that. I don't know if she's gonna be in, but her people do too.
Yes.
And so reclaiming Native knowledge, that's 3 words. And let me just think here. I think I really like, along with that, I really like the word ike, Hawaiian word ike. That deep knowledge, it's in a lot of our chants. Na makua, right? Ehomai ka ike, ehomai ka mana, ehomai, it's in those. Ike is I think such an important word, that deep insight that we hold as Native Hawaiians, and is, it's so important. It's an insight that only we hold as Native Hawaiians.
I have to share with you, Lulani, that as we were talking and as you were giving us feedback, I added another slide into my presentation, and I actually pulled up Ehomai ka ike, and I was like, Cracker Jack, and then you said it, and so it's
that's it.
It's confirmed. We have to use it.
Yeah, gotta use it. I do that chant every morning. It's a chant I always do. That it's part of my practice and my spiritual practice and my trying to keep some of my Native Hawaiian. I'm not a native speaker, but when I lived in Hawaii, I just knew the language so much better. And when you get up here, you're probably better than me, Michael. But when I get up here, it just, I'm not around Hawaiians and my family and you're not speaking or listening or hearing. I just kind of lose it, you know? So every morning I do that chant, Nao Makua. Yeah. And several other chants that Kumu Lake is part of my ohana and from way back.
Yes.
And yeah, Ike. And I'll tell you another one, but you would really top everybody off if you did this one, but maybe it would be a little too complicated. I'll send you maybe something on this one if you might already heard it. This, I think, Auntie Mele, I think you could deliver this really well with a closing bang along with Jarena and Michael. This concept of koho'ia. You ever heard of that concept? Koho'ia.
Ka or koho'ia?
Koho'ia.
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 No, go ahead.
The kupuna got together way back. This is way back. You can look it up. You'll probably see it. And back when I was with Alolike, one of our staff was working with her, you know, sort of in the field with several of kupuna, and they all got together during the old days. Michael, you should remember, well, not that you're old or anything, but I'm not sure how, but you may remember when OHA was first, you know, back in the early days, they had they brought together native speakers back then when, I can't blank on the name of the trustee then. He's from Kauai. I can't think of his name. Way back. But anyway, and he brought them together to talk only in you know, the Olelo Hawaii, only Olelo Hawaii in all the conversations. And he went.
Nathan Kalama.
No, not Nathan Kalama.
Oh,
further back. Anyway, what they did, they came up with these values. And I remember when I first saw it, I'd never heard that value before. To this day, I still don't hear that value. You know, we hear these other values, but I never heard the koho'ia, so it really fascinated me. And I've shared it with a lot of people now because I was going through a lot of my Hawaiian stuff and that came up again. And I said, wow, I forgot about this. So koho'ia means choice, but no choice is what it really means. And the kupuna that came up with that really said it's kind of it wraps all the other values that we have together, everything. You know, all of whatever values those are, you know, all of our Hawaiian values, but in particular, you know, like ohana and laulima and, you know, all of the values we've talked about in different Hawaiian organizations. That's the big one that wraps. And it's kind of a difficult concept, but it means choice or no choice. It means we all have a choice to embrace our culture and to go on certain paths, right, in our life, and especially our children. Even we think it really had to do a lot when you were raising children or you had your opuna, your grandchildren, and then they kind of go off track sometimes. And it had this idea of they have a choice, and their choice, and you give them that choice to go out and kind of, but really they don't have a choice because their destiny is always to come back to their culture. I'll send you guys a paragraph on this.
Yeah.
And you might I'll send it to you, Michael, maybe you can, I think I have all of yours email.
Yes, you do.
I'll send you a thing on this. But it's a lot of people haven't heard of this, even people in Hawaiian field, I noticed. I always, and it's a beautiful value. It's hard to articulate, as you can see I have. So I'm going to send it to you so you'll say, I get it. How they wrote it, how the kupuna wrote it.
We will lomi that phrase, I'm telling you. We will lomi that.
Yeah, lomi that phrase.
And then one thing about the financial piece, because when we did the orientation, they did not really express any interest of having technically a P&L or budget and all that kind of stuff. Should we just have as a backup in case they do ask, you know, what specifically are your numbers going forward and all that, just have a snapshot summary of our budget going forward for next year?
Yeah, but in your head, I mean, don't show them that.
Oh, okay. No, that's exactly what I was asking you.
Yeah,
So,
you
so we
should.
have it like in a diagram in case they say what exactly, blah, blah, because I don't want to be caught off guard.
Yeah. Yeah, I doubt if they will ask you that, if they haven't
Yeah.
asked for it already, but
Okay.
I think you should have that in your head anyway, though.
Oh,
kind of
I do,
just
but I want to have it as a
broadly.
backup, highlighting and to make it look really professional. We could have that, but I may do that anyway, just in case they do pull that one on me, but I don't suspect that they will.
Okay. Yeah. Because is this COVID fun? This is COVID. Is this related to COVID or not?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's why. That's why it's not as important to have.
They said it in the orientation. They said that because everybody was asking about the numbers, and the girl kept saying, "We're not going to ask you that. We're not going to ask you that."
Yeah.
You know?
Which, yeah, and I keep forgetting this is about the COVID. It's kind of a response to their support for the challenges that have come about because of COVID. So your project is about sharing the knowledge and whatnot, and keeping our culture alive during these,
Mhm.
because of the devastation of last year and everything was shut down. So they probably won't even, but that's where you'll still be ahead of the game. They probably won't even ask how will you measure success, but that I still think you should talk about.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
Lulani,
you guys.
thank you so much. We appreciate it, and then we'll keep you in touch as we prepare, and then we will give you our success after this. They'll determine it in June. I'm going to be in Hawaii. I don't know when we'll get a letter or a notification, but as soon as we do, we'll let you know.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Mahalo.
Thank you, Lulani. Love you very much.
Yeah, love you too. Okay.
Okay, we'll see you.
Ahoy ho.
Bye.
Ahoy ho.
Stay on, you guys.
Okay.
Okay. Thoughts? I thought everybody did fantastic. I don't even know what I said, but I picked up your mana right from the get-go, Jarena. So I just kind of went with it and tried to, and I did want to ask, because your slides were beautiful, and I'm thinking, gee, I wonder if we should just have spotted slides or stuff, but that's why I asked her, should I have some in mind or not? Because I think what they wanted to see more the visionary part and me visually expressing it, because she told me, she goes, they want to see your personality. So that's why I asked her.
Well, I felt like slides are important for my portion is because there's some visual arts that I'm
Sure.
referring to. And
Oh, but she loved it. She loved it.
yeah. So I did kind of shift it a little. I'm still trying to keep it within the 5, maybe 9 slides. And
Yes.
the 10th would be the closing slide.
That was a
where
great idea, by the way. I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, so Jarena, that means, Mele, that means you're going to lead into that summary, or Jarena, you can pick up that peva at the end if you want. So
Yeah.
if I think actually, Jarena, I think you should close that piece.
Okay. If you're
Yeah.
okay with it, Mele.
And interesting, did you
Yeah,
hear
I'm
what she
okay.
said? Mele, she says, "Oh, Mele, that whole thing brought in credibility and all that." I was like, touche. Very good. Oh, one thing, Mele, is just from a visual thing is, okay, so the way your screen is set right now, you have a 50-50 screen, face and space. So you only want a third of the top part of your screen. So however you set your camera, set it so that you have only a third of space above your head, number one, okay? And then number 2 is, I need you to connect directly into the camera so that the people who are on the other side, you speaking to them. I had my notes in front of me. I don't know if you noticed, but I was just kind of looking at it, but I was talking to the camera. And there's a lot of times that, see, you know all that stuff about the community. You don't need to look at those notes. You were looking literally down off screen, looking at your notes the whole time and talking like this. So in presentation wise, you already know all the 3 different nonprofits. You know how to explain all that. And if I took all your notes away right now, you still could do it. But I don't want you looking down at like this the whole time and talking like that, because it makes the person on the other side feel irrelevant, like, you know, they're not really existent. So the whole time, it's all we're doing is connecting on a intellectual, spiritual, and emotional level. And Lulani highlighted that when she said, oh, that thing was beautiful, Mele. You know your stuff, the nonprofit thing and all that was terrific. And your credibility shines, all that. Now, we need to take that intellectual knowledge and experience and now convey that in an emotional way directly to the panel. Kiki.
I can do that.
Yeah, no, that it's just
I don't
commentary.
I have an iPhone 7, so I can't do the background thing like you guys have. It
Not
doesn't
necessary, not necessary. But the other commentary that Jarena had suggested is that if we all have the same background or not. So I don't know if you still want to do that. That's open. I wanted to be kind of in a very, I'm here in the Pacific
My
Northwest.
phone
You see my
doesn't have
coconut
that.
trees.
Yeah, my phone doesn't have that capability.
Oh,
Because I have
really?
an iPhone 7, yeah. Think 7 and below, you can't do that.
Okay, so in lieu of that, if you, just like Lulani had, she had that Hawaiian picture in her background. If you want to find a different space that has maybe a Hawaiian picture or something like that, something that's reminiscent of Hana, maybe the seven sacred, I don't know, the seven sacred pools picture or something, just a thought.
All I gotta do is walk across the street and the beach is in the background. Like.
No, right now I'm just talking about presentation effectiveness. Is like when she said taking it up a level, and that's just the producer in me is when I see things like this, I want to put people in the moment, you know. Jarena, so beautifully done, all that, and we will run through this as another role thing because technically I want to make sure we're on point. So when we dial in, the clock is on. The clock starts, we're rolling. I'm sure they're going to limit their commentary. They're going to say, hi, everybody. This is so-and-so, so-and-so. Go ahead, go. And we actually were ahead of our time when you were done because we were like at 18 minutes complete, 18, 19 minutes on the money. So that was awesome. And it had a nice flow, I felt. So I recorded this. I'm going to, when it uploads and all that, I'll send it to all of you folks so we can look at it later on. But I feel really good about this. I think we did good.
Concept that she mentioned, I guess we'll see where that would be plugged in.
The Koho'oya.
Yeah.
That's going to be under you. But I think Jarena will incorporate that with the summary because that goes with the PEVA almost. That's a strong closing, you know, choice but no choice. People have the choice or they can accept having no choice. We will give them the opportunity to make that choice, and we'll make it available by moving the needle worldwide in everything we do. Okay? Any other closing comments? Otherwise, I thought this went very well. The comments were freaking awesome. I think what I'm going to do is take some of my notes and just type it out and put it on with all of you on a separate email, and then, or we can start a Google Doc, Jarena, so we can share all of our comments on one, and then we can revisit it later on.
Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the one I added about, and I thought this is the screen that we would start with. E ho mai ka ike mai luna mai e. And she talked about
uploading. I think it's uploading.
Oh. Yep,
It says
should be
I'm viewing Jarena's screen and has started screen sharing, and you have to physically click on that screen.
Now I'm going to stop share and then I'm going to share again.
Yeah.
And then Mike, are you gonna answer those gaps, the measuring success and who does it benefits directly?
Actually, I thought I did already, but I'm going to review all that. But I'm going to be more specific. I have a whole bunch of these. I've
Seems like-
actually highlighted that. Huh?
Yeah, seems like she wanted that to be more clear. At least that's what I got from her.
Well, she's like she said, she wants us to up the ante, and all of those things are great commentary. So to me, in my presentation, I'm just going to slide all those things in, and I'm going to reorganize what I said today so that I hit it in a boom, 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 boom. So it's like they're going to be sitting there like, oh, we didn't think about that. Great point. You know, there it is. Now you got it.
Okay.
Now you can hit the screen that you were talking about.
Okay. So then, so I added this screen as a beginning, which is a
Right.
good place to add the EK piece about it.
Okay, click on the screen so you can bring it big.
It's at the biggest. So it might be on your side. It's at the biggest on my side.
It's, I see your computer screen.
Yep, that's what you're supposed to see. Oh,
We don't see the slideshow though.
this
Yeah.
one. Here we go. That one. That one? Can
Not
you see
yet.
it?
Not yet. It looks like it's frozen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might have. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing again.
Because when you hit it the first time around, it looked like it was spinning, and then it popped on all of a sudden. So it takes a while to do that, which means whatever slide we have prior to that, when we do our actual May 25th, I want that whole PowerPoint fired up at 1:45, so it's sitting on our screen, so we don't have any technical glitch from our end. Or at least have it ready, because it seems like on your end, Jarena, it takes a while to upload. And it has an impact. As soon as you see that first screen, man, that's our statement right there. Okay, now you got to click it to big, large. There you go. Now
So
we're there.
what happens, it looks like I have to,
How did you get this? How did you get right here?
I have to open it on my other screen before I could
Yes.
open it, and then slide it over and then open it.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah, because I have it on a smaller screen so that it doesn't take off so that it doesn't overlap you folks. I can't see you
Right.
folks. Yeah,
Oh, I see. I see.
yeah. So I added this one, this one, so the EKPs.
Yeah.
Then this. I combined Kali'ula Foundation, the mission and the vision and the mission.
Yes.
And then I have a subliminal here of the Umeke.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay. And the PEPA. And then here we talked about strategic goals, but I'm not reading them. I'm just talking about the MAMO piece and
Right.
then how that, and then our history, a little bit of history.
Oh, okay. Can you go back to that? So
Oh.
Daryl Lupi Nui, Men of Waimapuna, and the Ladies of Keala o Kalawai.
Okay, I can't change it right now because I'm in
Okay,
presentation
well, I'm
mode.
just-
Let me go back.
That's
Right
okay.
here.
I'm just giving you an FYI.
If I don't do it now, then I won't. And
The Ladies of Keala o Kalawai. yeah.
Okay,
Boom.
and then it goes to you, Mike. And then I noticed that you're on twice. Do you want to
What do
be visually seen in two windows? Because you logged on twice, right?
Yeah, I am.
Oh.
I need to do that because I was actually speaking to my phone camera, but on my right was my notes and my things. So I just kind of want to have that there in case I need to
Okay.
refer to it.
Okay. So just wanted to let you know from our end, we're seeing you twice, and then sometimes because when you move with your hands,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a little distracting because it's a different angle that we're seeing in the other camera, right?
Okay.
So just to let you know.
Oh, no, that's all good commentary. So I can either shut me off while I start talking to,
The main
well, I can
camera.
do this. I can do this. Okay. Like, for example, I can go like that and then I can talk to my other camera. Then
the
that's the
main
primary camera. Is that
Yeah.
something like, would that work better?
Yeah. And now
Yeah.
you are more vertical, like how Mele is.
Right.
So, okay, just to let you know that. And
Would you
then
like me vertical or would you like me more, I don't know,
it does.
this?
Oh, Mele, try to turn the camera sideways.
Is that better?
I gotta
No,
get my
what?
daughter to figure that one. For some reason, the thing is like
No.
frozen for vertical.
Oh, yeah. I see. I
Sure.
see.
Is that
Yeah.
better, Jarena?
That's
I'll
much
fix
better.
it. I'll go ahead
Yeah.
and fix it before our presentation.
The horizontal is much better.
Well, what we'll do is horizontal is better.
Yeah.
So what we'll do, we'll work, we'll do this again. We'll do a run through. We can massage our commentary and all that now. We have 2 weeks,
Okay.
but we'll have a refresher before we do the May 25th. We'll have time. And we can talk about all these things. Go ahead.
Did you want me to add a slide about the framework that we will consider for that we are considering for our evaluation? The HA framework.
I would put it in there, but just touch on it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So I'll just put HA.
And you see, what makes the presentation, you probably have about a minute worth of time to do that, Jarena, is how you flow in your presentation. Because you had a nice flow. You just go boom, boom. I mean, I was with you. I was watching the screen, but I was listening to you the whole time. That was most important. And you don't have to necessarily read all that stuff on the screen. You just highlight it because even though you had like 4 or 5 of those points, everybody was looking at the mamo.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the most important thing. It's part of it is, aesthetics and visuals, but we're telling a story the whole time. We're just telling a story. Just remember that that's how I kind of go into these kind of things. And I think we did very well.
And then at the end, I'm going to use this visual and wrap it up and talk about the PEVA, that we are the PEVA. The work that we do with Kali'ula Foundation and this grant is the PEVA. And I'll probably talk a little bit about what a PEVA is in case they don't know what it is. And then, but it's the piece that makes this bowl have purpose again. It's the piece that heals. Yeah.
And it's the koho'oia that allows choice or no choice. You know what I mean? If you want to tie that in, that
Yeah,
value
that sounds
in.
good. Yeah.
I mean, that piece really does tie those 2 things in very nicely. But what Lulani was saying is that's an exclamation point on the summary.
So the work that we're doing with this grant, with the funding of this grant, is really helping us to reclaim our native knowledge and our native truths.
Beautiful.
The deep Ike Hawaii, the deep knowledge of Ike Hawaii.
And just having that picture there, no words on it. Just leave the picture just like that.
That's all it is. I just wanted to put PEVA there so that they can, because that's the part.
Oh no, just the picture, it says 1,000 words. Just looking at it, I'm getting chicken skin. I don't know about you, Mele, but just hearing you talk about it is the close. Right
Very
there.
nice, yes.
Okay.
And so Mele, you will transition, or do you want me to transition from you to Jarena?
Well, I don't know if you wanted to, come back after me, because you had another pitch, regarding the needle.
So
I don't know.
why don't we do that? So what I'm going to listen, and if there's something that's, that one little thing that's missing, I may stick that in there, but then I'm going to transition right over to Mele to wrap. So let me follow you, Mele. I'm just going to wait for you to, I'm going to listen until you give whatever your closing comment is, and I'm just going to come right in and just say something, or I'm going to transition to Jarena.
Yep.
Okay.
And then Jarena, that's going to be a a minute or two wrap, and then we go right into the questions as soon as you're done. And you can open it up for the questions, Jarena, after you, Paul, and we go from there.
Okay, and if I forget, then you can just jump
I
in.
will jump in. I'm gonna listen. No, I'm gonna listen the whole time. And because if I don't hear it and I just see you go like this, that nice head genuflection will tell me, take it from here, brother. I got you. I got you. Oh, makaka. Hawaii.
For visual purposes, when you see the screen on there, do you see me in the little box on the bottom or something?
I have you
Yeah,
on
you're up there. You're on
the right side. Everybody's on the right side.
Okay, great. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make
I've done this before, but what it does, if I do the PowerPoint, the whole screen is PowerPoint, and I'm in the bottom right corner.
Yeah.
In that mode. But that means I put this picture in the virtual background, and it becomes the whole background, and my little pictures on the bottom. So I've learned how to do that, and I did it last week on my live stream and all that, which was fabulous because I was showing video and PowerPoint and all that. But then everybody said, I want to see the faces. So I had to shut that whole thing down so we could see everybody in gallery mode. Yeah.
Okay.
So you like that.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, that's it. Anything else? Great job, gang. Great practice run. If this was our first run, I think we did a darn good job. Now we just got to take our commentary here, and I have like a whole page of notes. Yeah. Can you guys see that? So, Jarena, if you want to start a Google Doc thing if you want to put your notes on, then I'm going to add my notes onto it as well, so we can all see it.
Okay.
And if it's redundant, I won't say the same thing, but I'm going to kind of look at what your notes are, then I'll just add in my notes as well.
No, we'll just go off of your notes. I was like just putting it straight on my.
Okay. Then, how do I start a doc thing? I just got to go to the Google thing.
Let me go. Let me
I don't know. I got to have it like right in front of my face. Hit me.
Okay. No.
Or if you want to put it in an email and just so I can click on it, then I can.
I will make it. I'll start it right now, and then.
Yeah, throw it in an email as a mock wrap, and then I'll start it.
And then
Mele, did you take notes, Mele?
What's that?
Did you take notes, Mele?
For my presentation or?
Or throughout the presentation?
Oh, no, because I figure you had recording, but I did take notes on her gaps that she mentioned.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
once I started, then then you can add your notes.
Can you see the chat, Mike?
I got it. I'll take it.
All right. I just called it Lulani suggestions.
Yeah.
Mele, you needed the.
Jarena, I guess my only question was, you think you have trouble again with uploading it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What I might do is once I finish it, I might just send you guys copies of it, or actually.
The actual presentation.
What I might do is what's happening is I might download it to my computer desktop, because right now it's in the share drive.
I got it.
Yeah. So.
Okay. All right. I think that's a wrap, gang.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Take a break. I'm going to eat lunch. I'm going to rest. And then I have my meeting tonight with the halal.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Be nice, Mike. Aloha.
You know, I can be as nice as I want to. It's what Richard tells them that they're scared. That's why they're scared.
Sandwich your maybe your not so positive comments with good comments.
Oh, I have plenty big ones, but the thing that kills
Good
them
one.
is like,
Not so good ones, and then end up with a good one.
no, I always like, I love you, right? I'm doing this with all love. Except I grew up in that kind of family where it was tough love. And here's why it's different, because the Kavaili Ula girls were very different from this bunch. This is like young kids and the retiring hula dancers and all that. So they're very sensitive. And so I have to kind of balance
Yeah,
that.
the generation is very sensitive.
Very different. And some of them are entitled hula dancers. Like, what do you mean? I'm not just another pretty face. Or as a matter of fact, all the pretty faces I have on my list, you guys all out. Because we're not looking for pretty faces. I want storytellers. Storytellers. Dancers, you can be a good dancer, but if you're not telling the story, no. And they're gonna die when they hear the numbers tonight. They're gonna throw up. Here's the funny part. I'm just between you guys. When I told this to Rich last night, Rich almost had a heart attack. But he was like, he took a deep breath. He goes, I'm fine. And he said, I'm fine with that. And I was shocked that he said that, like, really? I said, okay. And the hard part, like even when I did this with Chinky years ago, he would turn around, he goes, well, what do you think? And I'm looking at him like, what do you mean you're asking me what do I think? I said, that girl and that girl and that girl. And then he would turn around, he goes, okay, girls, let's do that one more time. And then he would leave them in the line. I said, okay, forget the competition. We're going because this is a Ho'ike line. Ho'ike line, competition line. I'm going for the win. He's going, let's bring the whole church with everybody, And it's always comes down to the kumu. So when I told Richard, I said, if you do anything after what I tell them tonight, that will determine whether we're going to be in or out. Because everything I'm doing right now is for what the goal you want. And that's where they have to understand what is the big goal. It's not about them, it's about the big goal, the team goal. So, I don't know, it depends on what kind of lunch I have this afternoon.
You better eat poi.
I know, right?
Actually, I gotta go. Maybe poke might do the job today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Aloha. Have a good
Aloha.
afternoon. And we're all on for this weekend, yeah, Okele. This weekend, huh? Sunday.
Yeah, but you guys were gonna generate it, right? Lisa was gonna generate it. You were gonna generate
Yeah.
it?
She already sent the notice out, but I just gotta put the agenda together. So I'll get that out. She already sent out the email to everybody for this weekend. And
Do
Kumu will
you-
be on there, but he won't come on till about an hour after we start, like 5 o'clock.
And you're sending the Zoom invite? Or am I?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Just until I need this month, maybe a month and a half to get restabilized.
Well, I got you. I got you back, babe. I got
Problem.
you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No worries. No worries.
Okay.
We got it. I mean,
Alright.
I have to get through May going into June,
June.
but the rest of this month is I'm drilling down on the girls. I'm working with 3 kokuas. I'm trying to deal with Rich. Rich has got a million things going on, right? And then we go right into June, and then I leave June 16th, and I come back July 5th. But the minute I get back from Hilo, I have 1 week of every day is booked, for me. So, and I'm gonna spend some time with Chinky and I thought think about this is if we have to schedule something in with our Ho'okele committee sometime that week when I come back from the 27th on of June. It may be just like a weekday or I don't know, something if you guys want. But since I'm there, you want to do something that's we can get together or not. I'm just putting that on your lap right now to consider. We can talk about that at the meeting
Yeah,
on
that
Sunday.
would be good.
And I think that's kind of important for everybody if we can, just to connect and get some Lisa, Marlene, people, and then we can paint the bigger picture, because we're going to need a big lift from here on out, because I told Chinky, be ready if all goes well and Keiko's in our court, July 1st, we're going to have one big fat check sitting in our account. And it's going to be boom. He goes, well, we got to think about it. I says, no, we're not thinking about anything. He said something, we're going to be da, 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 da. I says, no, July 1, we're purchasing all of our equipment. I have $12,000 worth of equipment we got to buy. You know what I mean? And we got to go into just to launch everything, to do all that. Yeah. So it's going to come.
You have computers in there, yeah?
Oh, number 1 on the list. Number 1, a computer. We
Yeah,
have
it's on
storage,
there.
we have the all-in-one computer, fax machine, da 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 da.
Okay.
Cameras, filming, all that kind of stuff. Speakers, the whole 9 yards.
Is it on the shared drive?
No, I have it on my thing, but I didn't put all the details. When I do this, I have all these numbers and all that, and it would inundate you guys if you saw that. But I kind of did more of a summary. So the summary I have right now, I need to take it down and clean it up even more so. And that's probably what I will show you guys. And because it
You
has
should
a
have
collective.
your email, Jarena.
It's in the
Jarena should have your email out.
Okay.
Mike sent it out, the budget list.
Okay.
Yeah. That's kind of all of my notes slammed together, but that's not the final. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea of where we're at, and you see all the numbers inside there in red, and it essentially comes out to about 47,000, and I left about 3,000 as a cushion, because that always gets swallowed up very easily.
Okay.
Okay, gang, that's it.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Love you
All right.
guys, and have a
Aloha.
nice day. Bye-bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.